Always has to be a shot at somebody.
No.
They're never clean.
They have to run. That's the only shot they have.
They do it for 82 games. We're about to find out.
He already has shown what he's capable of.
Did surprise me. I thought we were going to hang in there.
This makes me think that we do need to be humble.
I actually think you're the only one who deserved that. What's going on, everybody? Sherrod wearing a sleep mask. It's 8:25 p.m. and we're sorry.
You know what? The Celtics put the Wizards to sleep early, so I will do the same with my body and put it to sleep early. Yes.
There's two types of games I hate, Sherrod, okay? There's two types of games I hate. I hate games, number one, I hate games where the Celtics play like ass all game, come on back, make it somewhat competitive late with a rally that didn't really matter. Basically like what the Wizards did tonight.
Yeah.
Or play awful down to an opponent. You're mad all game long and they squeak out a win and you're like, you just want to say bad stuff, but you can't because they won. Yeah. That's number one. Number two is this, where this was a dominant game, 30-point lead, everything they're supposed to do, but then you ended on kind of a down note and everyone's like, but it doesn't matter. What happened was Celtics whooped ass, on a crap team. Queta goes off. Queta was on pace for 80 in this one early. He's going for Bam. Would have been disrespectful.
Bam 2.0. We have Bam 2.0 there.
It would have been disrespectful if he passed Bam. So if it was close, the right thing to do would have been to lay down and stop playing. And yeah, it gets boring. It gets boring. I am wearing Wizards colors, guys, because somebody's got to support them a little. It was an accident. I was wearing Legacy colors today because I went to the Legacy home opener with the girls. So I've been green all day long here. I was wearing the Legacy green earlier today. Went to that home opener in Foxborough. That was something fun. Got to see New Kids on the Block. That doesn't happen all the time.
That does not happen all the time.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I went to a New Kids concert. It was good. It was a good time. So we got Bobby down there. We'll hear from him in a little bit. It's a Saturday show. We'll keep this one short. We'll keep it brief. It's just the Wizards, but it was a nice little bounce back after a couple of losses. We'll still talk about those because honestly, I think, kind of what transpired in those games was more interesting than anything that went on tonight. And then obviously Jayson Tatum, it continues to be, interesting watching him go. And watching him progress, and we'll see what Joe has to say about it when all those guys have to say about it tonight. We'll hear from the guys at the podium. We've got that set up right now. We should be getting to Joe Mazzulla anytime. Before we get to Joe, your thoughts on this one, Sherrod?
Well, I mean, they did what they were supposed to do. The final score is not indicative of the game that was played.
Green.
There you go. You had something in there somewhere. But
I miss Blorp.
They did what they're supposed to do. I mean, there's nothing really flashy or just like, wow, I can't believe X happened or anything like that. This was if there's such a thing as scheduled losses, this would be the flip side of that, a scheduled win. I mean, you play really tough road games and you come back, and what's your reward for coming back? The Washington General or Wizards who show up. And they played, again, the Celtics did great things. And we'll talk more about Queta, I'm assuming, because the thing that I liked about him, and we'll talk more about this, is the fact that he did what you're supposed to do when no one guards you. You make plays. I mean, the Wizards did not guard him at all, and he made them pay. They're going to be nights where teams are literally going to say, we're not going to let Tatum crush us. We're not going to let Brown crush us. We're going to try to minimize Hauser and Derek White. We're just going to deal with him as well. So Queta, screw you. We're not going to pay you any attention. And he made him pay for it. So, but again, nothing earth shattering or surprising or shocking in this one.
Yeah. Well, question, does Joe have no sense of poetry or drama to see what's going on with Queta and be like, let's get this friggin' guy 40 tonight. They just, they forget in very much like Rob Williams, they forget he exists for quarters at a time. You have literally an automatic bucket tonight. And then they're just like, let's just work. Let's see if the jump shot's falling. They're giving it to you. They're conceding baskets every time. How do you not just keep going to that well over and over again? Go ahead.
Well, John, remember, Queta had like 13 points in like 6-7 minutes, and then he got taken out, and they missed I think 9 of the first 10 threes, and it was a game where if it wasn't for the putback baskets, Wizards probably would have been leading us. I don't understand how you don't let Queta ride out a little bit longer. and take advantage of the fact that he's literally kicking their ass around the basket. That was literally all you were doing to build this lead up. And the threes started falling a little bit later, but I just don't think there are a lot of nights you're going to have where Queta is going to be such a dominant presence from the outset. This was one of those few games where Queta looked like a top 10 center out there, doing what top 10 centers do, and that is beating the snot out of anyone and everyone that's on the opposing team and making your presence felt in multitude of ways. He had the little floater action going. Tatum was finding him. He was finishing at the rim. He had dunks. He was defensive presence. He was doing everything you want him to do. And to me, when you have those nights, you have to milk it for all it's worth. And I don't think they did that. He had a good game, but he could have had a great game.
Sorry, I'm getting photos sent to me. My daughter's at a soccer tournament, and they're doing one of those big hibachi sitting around the flame dinners.
Yeah, those are awesome.
The girls are freaking out. It's really funny.
Is it their first time doing? Is their first time?
I don't know.
Oh.
My daughter's been to one of these, but this one's one of these spectacles, where the guy puts on a show.
Yeah, he's got the hat going and flipping stuff into the hat. Yeah.
The smoking onions and flipping things and all of that. It looks like it's a blast.
Fun.
The fire's 10 feet tall. I wish they kept feeding Queta in this one because it is weird sometimes where like I do feel it's an option. You have so many again, dating back to the Rob stuff, and again we'll hear from Joe. Let's hear from Joe first. I'll get to this later.
Joe, what are some things you're seeing from Jayson into his fourth game that he's built on from that first night he played?
Just giving the game what it needs on the offensive end, reading 2-on-1, executing, defensively rebounding, understanding personnel, who he's guarding, competing. So just the details, the simple things. Continuing to get in shape, but right now the most important thing is just, giving the game what it needs on both ends of the floor, and he's doing a good job of that.
How much, obviously he didn't score until late in the second quarter. He's had pockets where he's been hot, stretches where he hasn't been as much. How much of that is conditioning, working back into things, rust, all that, and how much of it is, like the trying to regain things from what he was doing previously?
He had 5 points and 5 assists. So I think it's about just giving the game what it needs, regardless of if it's the beginning of the game, the end of the game. Just give the game what it needs.
The ghost of Paul Pierce is upon us.
Joe,
give the game what it needs.
Assists and shots need to go in and all that stuff. Jalen only had 3 in this game, but how would you kind of view his passing and his ball movement in this game?
No, you're right. If you look at his potential assists, if you look at the shot creation that he had for others, to me, I thought he got off to a great start, just facilitating on the offensive end. He had the possession in the first half where he got 2 offensive rebounds, had 2 kickouts to Derek. When you're playing against a team again, this team was down double digits and brought the Orlando game into overtime, right? And they have a tendency to hang around because of the way that they compete, in their coaching, and you have to win momentum plays. You have to be able to do that. So I think, those plays, especially in the first half, I think JB got us off doing those things, and got us off to a great start from a momentum point. And, sometimes the box score is unforgiving because it doesn't show the things that you did to put your team in a better position to win, and I thought he did those.
And along those lines, Nemi comes in, gives you 22 points right away. But in the second half, he wasn't like forcing it. It's not like he was going for anything. He was also kind of like setting picks, focusing on ball movement, making those reads. Just what does it say about, these guys who, sometimes guys go for the career highs, but sometimes, you guys seem to have like a very disciplined group of whatever the read is, I'm just going to make that read and live with whatever the result is.
Yeah, I think, again, I thought Nemi was another guy that helped us get off to a great start. When we can control the paint like that, especially on the offensive end with layups, and I thought he did a good job on his matchup with Sar. But I think, just giving the game what it needs, and it called for that in the beginning, and I thought later in the game it just called for his ability to screen and get guys open. And like you said, it's more of a credit to them, just having an understanding of what gives us the best chance to win. That process changes throughout games. It changes within the game. And so Nemi is a selfless guy. I think we have all our guys on our team care about winning first. And when you do those things, it kind of puts you in position to be good. So the way Nemi played tonight is big for us. And, it's a credit to him.
Joe, you talk a lot about limiting turnovers. They had 25 fast break points in that second half. What did you see change from their defense, your guys' offense that led to that, and how did you see you guys respond and keep the lead at the end?
Yeah, I mean, we ended up with 15. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we responded by getting the ball in the net and trying to execute there. I think credit to them, their pressure picked up a little bit. So I think that's something, again, regardless of the game, you have those 10, 15 possessions you got to get better at offensively. It's like, hey, we got to own our space better on the offensive end and not give some of those up. Some of them were in transition on some tough reads, and some of them was just some plays there. So
Rui was there.
But those are the plays that I thought we did a good job executing on the offensive end, and and really our defense, throughout the game. I think that at one point they didn't shoot a ton of layups in the beginning, so I thought we defended pretty good to compensate for some of the turnover that we had.
And then along the lines of what you were talking about with John in terms of not in the box score, it feels like, we talk about Derek's defense all the time, but his ability to fly around, contest shots, a lot of times he's pre-rotating and just preventing a shot. What can you say about his defensive instincts, his ability to do that, and what it does for you guys' defense as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just comes down to versatility, right? I mean, we can change roles within defensively because of our versatility. Sam started on Trae Young tonight. I thought he did a great job on him. Baylor, Payton, and Ugo had time on him. Derek was on Johnson and some of their shooters. So I think it just speaks to the versatility that we can have defensively. You saw the block shot that Derek had coming out of shifts. So when you have a guy that can just get to a bunch of, could play different ways defensively, it just allows us to be more versatile.
Do you sense Jayson is saying to himself, I might not have the burst yet or the moves or whatever, the confidence to kind of offensively take over a game, but I can rebound and I can pass and I can box out, I can do other things. Do you kind of sense he's kind of checking other boxes? I
mean, I think, I know I've said it a lot, and I'm not trying to beat it, but I think just give the game exactly what it needs is something, I think, he had 5 and 5, I think, but when he came out at the 4-minute mark and, he was playing great basketball. And so, I think sometimes these guys get judged by, just the points, and some of that is their responsibility, but he has a great, to not be judged by that all the time, especially at a time like this, where you're just coming in. And so to have 5 and 5 and playing basketball the right way and giving the game what it needs and competing with your team, that helps us win. And so I think he's given the game exactly what it needs. He wants to win, and, he also wants to continue to get better. But like you said, he's rebounding, he's boxing out, he's making the right play, getting to space and doing all the things that impact winning. And so I think that's more important than anything else.
You had one of your best game in terms of offensive rebound, but at the same time, it was sometimes leaking in the defensive transition, and sometimes it's related, sometimes it's not. But what are the key to be a good offensive rebound team while not leaving the transition defense?
You don't want to be too good of an offensive rebounding team because that just means you keep missing. And so, I think that kind of happened a little bit in that start of the third quarter, start of the fourth quarter and the end of the third. We just had some empty possessions where we missed and didn't get the rebound. And so we got to do one or the other. We got to make some shots, and then when we don't, we got to do a better job of getting the rebounds. And so, but the offensive rebounding was big tonight. Again, I think everybody did a great job on getting us extra possessions. Those are the things that help you manage variance. They help you manage. They went on a run when Hardy came in the game. He didn't miss a shot. It helps you manage some of the turnovers. It helps you manage, obviously, not shooting the ball well. So it's important for us to continue to get better at our offensive rebounding, and credit to the guys for doing it.
Joe, I think this was Neemi and Luka's highest scoring game as teammates. I was curious from your standpoint. Obviously, usually they don't share the floor when they're checking in for one another. There's advantages and disadvantages to both of their games, but how do you kind of want them to lean into their strengths? When Luka checks in, is there specific things that you want him to see, you want to see him do kind of maybe that Neemi wasn't doing because that's what Luka's best at? How do you kind of think about that?
That's what it is. Have an understanding of what you're good at and just give it, but also have an understanding of giving the game, what it needs and giving the game different things. So, they're both different in their versatility. They both can impact matchups. They both can impact coverages. You can play different coverages with them defensively. They both do a great job of playing off of each other, having an understanding that they need each other and that our team needs both of them to be really good. And they both have an understanding of what each guy can do. So. When you have that, it's just part of being a good team, and credit to those guys for helping us be that.
Joe, you mentioned Jason's rebounding with his defense, but beyond that, with his rotations or communication, whatever it may be, the things that might go past the box score, like what have you seen from him defensively in that regard?
Positioning, deflections, communication. Just like you said, some of those little things. Those are the three that come to mind to me: the positioning, communication, and some of his deflections.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
Give the game what it needs. Paul Pierce, where are you?
I know. I've always said, I mean, look, that's always been my Tatum thing. It's, best version of Tatum is the guy who isn't looking for his shot. It's the guy who's just playing, not like, again, and I've said this a zillion times. I'm not prophetic or it's smart or anything like that. It's so clear when the only bad parts of Tatum is when he's trying to cook, trying to go Kobe mode and failing. And because it stunts the offense, he's trying to find his thing and he's working through it. But those are always every Tatum fan out there will absolutely say that as well. But when he just plays and it flows and he's setting things up and he's making the right reads and he's going strong to the basket and he's setting up teammates and making the pass before the pass that sets up the bucket, everything looks so connected. So when he plays that way, it's great. And you almost think like, it's a similar conversation we had, Sherrod, to Jayson Tatum. I mean, Jaylen Brown lacking his physicality coming off the knee thing at the beginning of the year. And people are like, maybe this lets him play more controlled. You're seeing him make better rim reads. You're seeing him not force the issue as much work his way into the game instead of forcing things. You wonder if Tatum's, slightly reduced physicality as he's ramping back up here and his wind and all of that stuff is so. I'm just not going to go nuclear. What we've seen in the first three games is way too much reliance on contested jump shots, So what I loved about tonight's game, above all, with the caveat, and I tweeted this, and again, I don't know why Joe wouldn't just address this. This was what stood out to me by far. He went to the rim with way more purpose and confidence and tonight than in any of the games that he's played so far. Even early when he missed 3 layups, but he got to the basket and he got there strong. That's what stood out to me today. So if you're looking for how is this game slightly different than this game, slightly different, he's always going to be Jayson Tatum. Like him having feel for the game and being your all-around best player because of how he plays is always going to be the case. Whether he's scoring 30 or 20 or whatever, like that's just it. Like you can see it. That he's always going to be Jayson Tatum. But you're looking for physically, can he do the things that he does when he needs to kind of, take it that extra level, take over the game, get a bucket and things like that. And again, it's the Wizards. But I absolutely thought that he looked better and stronger going to the basket tonight.
Yeah, I mean the thing about Jayson Tatum is that his ability to score the way he does certainly is one of his greatest qualities. But if that were all he did, he would be a 6'8" version of Trae Young. But the thing is, he can do scoring, he can rebound, he can defend, he does so many other things. And when he's playing that all-around Jayson Tatum game, that is when he's at his best. Right. And I thought this was as close as we've seen since he's come back to being all-around Tatum. A guy that will just kind of really fill out fill so many boxes and not necessarily do it with the intention of filling the boxes, but he does it by simply making the right reads, making the smart plays, doing the things that helps the team be successful and not necessarily, stack his stats. Definitely his best all-around game since he's come back, I think, for sure.
Yeah. Step by step, Tatum doing it. Hanging tough.
Yeah, and to your point, John, we can't ignore the fact that this is the Washington Wizards. But that being said, they don't just lay down. I mean, this game was, I think, a great example of how that team, they're not just going to let you do what you want to do and just take a 40, 50, 60-point ass whipping and call it a day. They're going to fight if particularly if you don't keep your foot on the gas, which the Celtics did not. So Tatum being able to get, I think, a lot of Tatum-like play out of him. Jaylen Brown doing his thing. Big game from Queta. The Celtics got pretty much everything they wanted out of this game that you, and as a fan, that you would want to see. You want to see Tatum show signs of being, all around Tatum. You want to see Queta do some good things. You want to see Sam Hauser knock down a shot or two. Not a whole lot to complain about this one, other than just the way that it ended, as far as it being a closer game score-wise than the actual game that was played.
Yeah, you got it. It's Tatum. It's Tatum.
Well done, step by step. Well done, well done. New Kids on the Block hit right there. Yes, I got you.
Yeah. Call. Yeah, like we said. But yeah, when it's Tatum, it's just, baby, I believe you. I believe you, baby. He's got it. He's looking better. And again, it is the Washington Wizards, and everything there has to be thrown in there because they don't play defense. So yes,
right.
It's good for your confidence, and it's good to get to the be able to get to the line there. Jaylen Brown, I do agree there. It's almost funny. It's like Joe has somehow mind melded with the media to get them to ask the question. Now, instead of you asking a question and me saying, the old question would have been Jaylen Brown, struggled a little bit tonight, and I say, well, Joe would have said, well, actually, he had a bunch of potential assists. He's now trained people to say, Joe, Jaylen only had 3 assists, but he could have had a lot more. And Joe's like, that's correct. Yes. That's where this is the answer I was going to provide. So why embarrass yourself into asking a different question? Derek White, he did more than the box score. Correct. Yes. Because if you asked me about his shooting, I would have said, but what about his defense? So he's got it. Joe's got it all kind of figured there. But the Brown thing, I absolutely, I tweeted about it too. He had 3 assists early, but it was hilarious. It was almost like the adult playing with kids whose job it is to pass the ball because he can score every time. He was getting rebounds under the basket and looking at the basket and like, I'll kick it out for a 3. It looked like he was going for 10 dimes in the first quarter. He made so many gratuitous passes at times where he would absolutely power up and shoot, which again, you love to see it. But like a couple of times I'm like, dude, shoot the layup. Like he did. I mean, he easily could have had 7-8 assists in that first quarter. Just guys were smoking open looks. You had Pritchard with a line it up corner 3. He had time to dribble and step into it and missed it. Those don't get missed a lot. He set up Derek White. He set up a bunch of them. So he should have had more there. But he was making good reads early there in that quarter. What's interesting about Jaylen Brown is, again, Jayson Tatum came back 3 games into March. Brown has played 2 without him. 3 in a sense, because Tatum sat out as well. Brown's field goal attempts for the month of March are down to 17 a game. He was averaging a league high 24 entering the month of March. So you're already kind of seeing a bit of a correction there in terms of how things are going to go and distribution. Whether that makes for a better version of him, we'll see. But it's almost like he embraced kind of a secondary role or a facilitator role when he was out there tonight.
Yeah, and I think that's part of his evolution, because, I mean, when we go through the checklist of things that we wish Jaylen Brown were better at, playmaking is probably at or near the top of the list. And it's the one thing that I would say the last few weeks, hell, this season, he's shown some tremendous growth in that area. And this game was another example of that. He could have easily, I think, scored another 5-10 points, but chose to give other guys an opportunity to do that. And to me, he made the decision, rather than make a good basketball play, I'm going to make a great one and get my teammates involved and get them going, particularly against a team where, if it gets a little tight, I know I can still score if I need to. So this was a really good Jaylen Brown game as well. And the box score doesn't reflect it, but it does, for those of us who watched it, it does show his growth and maturity as a player to understand that there's more to being a good player than just getting points. You've got to be a good teammate. And I think he's become a much better version of that by being a better facilitator.
Yeah. And it's across the board. You think, we talked about this way back, like, before they had won a championship, eventually these guys, if they don't win one, eventually these guys are going to get to around the 30 years old, and they're going to be like, whatever it takes, stats, MVPs, any of that consideration will go out the window. And again, everyone's like, you shouldn't care about that stuff anyway. Wemby gave an interview, today or yesterday when he was like, I want to make the 65 and play as many games as I can down the stretch here because I want to win MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it's a lot of people like and want that stuff, and it drives you, and you want to be the best. There's nothing wrong with wanting that. There is something wrong with, doing it at the expense of winning. And not saying either of those guys did it, but again, the best version of these guys has always been the one where they're, not deferential, but they're just. It's again, the greatest model of it was the 2008 Celtics. Those guys took such a huge dip. They were all alphas, 3 alphas. And again, you saw it in 2024. They did it to an extent, but it was clearly the Tatum and Brown show, the Tatum, then the Brown show. So eventually they get to a point where like, I don't give a crap what my box score looks like. Not at all. I don't need my shots. I don't need anything. I'm here. I want to win another before this is all over. That's what I'm going for at this point. They might, I think they're there. I mean, I think Tatum's always going to be driven by that stuff because that's how he motivates himself. He wants to be considered the best and thought of as the best, but that just helps fuels. I think he needs that for confidence, That's how he plays. Tatum's going to be talking not at the podium in the locker room, so we'll bring that to you in a little bit, and Bobby will pop up as well, and we'll continue on there. A couple other things I wanted to talk about for tonight's game also before we move on and maybe talk about some bigger picture stuff. Before we get to that, we do need to tell you about our pals over at PrizePicks. And again, you see it on the screen there. North America's #1 fantasy sports app. Shoot your shot right now with PrizePicks. You see the offer on the screen. Download the app. Code CLNS. Play 5, get 50 instantly in your account. That's all you have to do. And again, great time to get into it now. If you're not already, perfect time to sign up to play. Definitely check it out. It's 2 to 6 stat projections. You know that deal by now. More or less, it's all you have to do. It's really super easy to use. It's very intuitive. It's a great looking app. So check it out. Play today, cross your sports, play it all, the same sport, same night, same game, doesn't matter. Stack stats if you're really hot on a particular player or down on a particular player. If you want to go less, I never go less, Sherrod. I'm always more, find the guy. It's more fun to root for more. No one likes to root for less, but whatever. You can play it however you want it. New feature alert. It's been around for a bit, but I'll let you know. Early payouts. Your player gets off to a hot start. You have the option to cash out the winnings before things finish off. You get a lot of free squares or discounted squares you can insert into your lineup. Makes it easier for your lineups to hit. You can find your community with PrizePicks. New social feeds feature. Share your PrizePicks with your friends. Copy lineups with from winners with a single click. Very easy to do. And injury reboots. Your player gets hurt. That's coming off the board. You don't have to worry about it. That's not gonna affect your ability to hit in your lineup. So again, sign up today if you haven't already. Download that PrizePicks app. Code CLNS. Get 50 in those lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, code CLNS 50 in your lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It is good to be right. So there he is. I lost you for a second, buddy. Couple other things I thought were interesting against a team like the Wizards. And again, I don't know why necessarily, but we came off the Ron Harper Jr. game, and he was this revelation. And this is why every time Bobby starts and he's like, dude, I think we found something. I'm like, stop, because it's not that I don't know when we're going to see Ron Harper Jr. again. And then he plays 2 minutes of garbage time tonight. He played as many minutes as Max Shulga, who apparently was up, which I didn't know. But what is interesting to me was Jordan Walsh was a DNP-CD tonight, and Ugo only played 9 minutes. Why do you think that is? In a blowout, in a game where I don't know. What am I missing there?
I think we're all kind of scratching our heads a little bit, because typically when a game, the only thing I could think of was that the game got a little bit closer than Joe anticipated, and therefore he decided to just play a little bit closer to the rotation that he would plan to play from the beginning. That's the only thing I can think of, because those guys in a game like this, you anticipate that you'll see them play against the Wizards, and so I give those guys a lot of credit, though, John. They stay ready to play. No matter whether they're going to or not, you know that when they get an opportunity, they're going to make the most of it. And I think that's one of the things that drives Joe's decision-making, knowing that he has a team of players who are going to be ready no matter what. So,
but I don't. I always I'm like, do I have to go back and watch the last game and see what we didn't like with those players? It's those times where I don't quite understand it here. And again, I don't understand it off of, what's happened recently, because again, you played a shorthanded game recently, and Ugo played 28 minutes in that game and, did a decent job. Ron Harper, again, played decent minutes against OKC, but he played again in San Antonio. So it's a couple games in a row that you thought he was, kind of doing stuff, and then just to go to 0 in a blowout game, to me, I can never fully understand what and why. I'm not going to question it because it's mainly worked, but just again, you're going back a couple of games here. Harper Jr. in the game where Brown was ejected and Pritchard didn't play against San Antonio, plays 33 minutes, scores 22 points there. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. You figure he'd want to kind of ride momentum, see what you got there. But yeah, anyway.
Well, the one thing
and the bench
that
is out there,
it does
bench
do,
is flat, and you're not seeing you guys who've been providing you energy. It was weird.
It was. But the one thing it does for Joe, I believe, is provide a sense of players never being comfortable no matter what they do. And having that kind of edge about you when you do get an opportunity to play, I think has helped this team in many respects. You look at a guy like Baylor Shireman, who for a stretch there hadn't really done a whole lot, but then when he got his opportunity to play, he made the most of it and hasn't looked back. A guy like Jordan Walsh at one point wasn't playing, then he was playing, did a pretty solid job, had a couple of rough outings, then stopped playing, and then he dusted him off the shelf the other night, and he had a really, really good game. And you start seeing this pattern where whether guys are playing consistently or not, when the opportunity presents itself, they make the most of it. And I think that's part of the thinking in Joe's head as far as I may not play a certain guy after they play well, or I may play a guy who didn't play well and I just give him an opportunity to show what he can do. As a player, I would be pissed at him most days because it just wouldn't make sense to me.
I'd be so mad. It's so funny too. Yeah.
Go ahead.
I find it interesting. It's just it doesn't matter. They won, and again, he's getting the Bill Belichick benefit of the doubt where all the strings he's pulling are working. If, earlier in the season, I was worried that he was breaking player spirits by just benching them and then, sending them to Siberia. I'm like, you're never going to get anything out of this guy if you do this. And most of those guys have answered the bell, which is always super interesting to me how they've come back. So I can't question it, but it is funny because my general philosophy is you actually don't owe the players anything in terms of them. You're going to play this many minutes and do this and do that. A lot of people believe you do. I've never actually believed it. Be ready. And when I look your way, get in the game. You see a lot of other people in other sports cry about that a lot. Baseball players are the worst at it. Like a guy can throw 18 pitches in the game, wants to know if it's going to be in the 8th inning, the 7th inning, or the 9th inning. I'm like, when I friggin' pick up the phone, just get your fat ass off the bullpen bench, come out and throw your 18 to 20 pitches and be done. Like, give me a break. My roles have changed. So yeah, they're babies, but these guys have absolutely stayed ready the whole time, which is unbelievable. Throughout the season. So, good for them. I'm going to kind of ride a little bit what the chat's been talking about here, only because, somehow they got into, our championship discussion with Tatum and Brown and giving the game what it needs. And it was really possible, Sherrod, that if they took a step back this year with the idea that it would be a baby step back, get a little closer to where you want to be, and then maybe 2 years from now, 3 years from now, having the type of roster after you had to tear it down a little bit to build it back up, and then a couple of years of their prime still remaining to maybe kind of put another push there for a championship. But they're clearly in the mix right now, which is insane to me, because it's very rare to have an entire career without years where you have no chance of winning, like even the Golden State Warriors, have had years like that, in the later stages here, but like, it's pretty rare. You can go all the way back, and like almost every season that they've been in, you could say that this team has a chance to get to the finals for 6 years running, 7 years running now. And this year too, which wasn't supposed to be. So there may be no interruption in the Tatum and Brown, career arc in terms of consistently playing for contenders, which is nuts. So I'll ask you the question, I'll ask the chat as well. If they only come out of this with a single title, somebody was joking about my cold open line, you want to cement legacy, win another. Like, if they come out of this with only a single title for Brown and Tatum playing 12, 13 years together, and Spurs is another one. Spurs were in contention every year. Absolutely right. They were always there. It's very Spurs-like. They reloaded, and they just kept going. And obviously you carried it out from the Robinson Duncan years, and then moving on to Kawhi, and Ginobili and Parker and all of that stuff, which was unbelievable. But if they do, and they don't win more than one, is this a failure? Not, I'm not looking for I'm not trying to be harsh on it. Would it be massively disappointing that these two could only win one? Yeah.
Massively disappointing, but not shocking, particularly when you look at that San Antonio organization, and they've got basically the ultimate freakazoid in Wemby, and a lot of really good players around. So, but the point that I think you're making, John, I think is a valid one, is that Tatum and Brown are set up to be in title contention for the rest of their careers as Celtics,
which is unbelievable.
It's surprising, because this was supposed to be the beginning.
This could have knocked you out of orbit completely. Getting back was not assured if this season went as bad as people like me and a lot of other people as well thought it might go, where it was just those two and the rest of the roster was threadbare. Obviously you've got Derek White as well, but White, if those guys aged out before you had a chance to reload, what would happen there? And it didn't. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like they'll go there. They might go their entire careers without ever not being relevant, which is crazy.
It is, and it says a lot about, I think, Brad Stevens, just the roster construction. It says a lot about Joe Mazzulla, the way that he has been able to navigate and manage, incredibly great roster and won a title with them, and a roster that isn't nearly as good, and yet there you are, still a title contender. But again, around here, and we both know this, we've been around here long enough to know that it's about winning championships, and these guys are going to be in the hunt to win many more championships. Now, will they do it? Probably not, but for them to not win another one before they're done playing as Celtics, that would be disappointing.
That would be disappointing. Jayson Tatum is talking in the locker room now, so we're going to get to that in just a little bit, and we'll get Bobby in there as well. I bring this up only because, again, the chat does, so I just want your thoughts on it. Just kind of back to the game tonight. We have seen way more of these Pritchard games like this recently than we have. I'm trying to think. I know he struggled a little bit earlier in the season, but he was still kind of getting his. He was just jacking it a lot. We've definitely seen a little bit, a weird little stretch from Peyton Pritchard here, where he's had these brutal, games. And again, this is now you've got two goose eggs this month, plus a 4-point game, and then late in February, a 3 and an 8 and a 6, which again just hadn't been happening as much. He'd been pretty consistent here. Weird to see, so many almost nothing games here. This is more a case of him just missing shots. He got up 11 in 30 minutes. Those other games, he wasn't able even to get shots up there as well. And every time you see these stat lines, I always go back to that same conversation of, is he Is there that concern of like playoff Pritchard, coming back in here versus, they need his offense and he's going to provide it every night, Pritchard?
Yeah. I mean, and I personally think that he's just going to figure it out when he needs to figure it out. As far as the playoffs are concerned, I still think he's going to be impactful in that regard. But there's definitely reason to be concerned a little bit when you're starting to see him start to stack up these tiny games. And it does feel like he's stacking them up. But I just have enough. I'm confident that he's going to figure this out when he needs to. I think he's too much of a gamer. He's too competitive, and frankly, I think he's too talented to be a non-factor when the games matter most, which for this group is the playoffs.
Yeah. Again, this one is more of a poor shooting game versus a game where it feels like he can't kind of get what he's looking at or what he's trying to get to tonight. But just weird to see, as many of these pop up. This is now his third in the month of March where he's been a non-factor. Back to the Tatum stuff we were talking about earlier. I know Bobby was trying to get him there. But again, if you just look at this here as Jayson Tatum, and these were his stats, and this is what he finished with here, you could live with it. You could live with it for the rest of the year, but you need to see more. So I guess, much on the Wizards.
I'm looking at those numbers, John.
Yeah.
I'm looking at those numbers, and I'm thinking about just the peaks and valleys that get you to this point. Like, I'm looking at, okay, there's going to be a 35-point game in there. Okay, there's going to be like a 7-point game in there. Hopefully on the 7-point game night, he'll have like 14 rebounds and 9 assists or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I think over the course of the last dozen or so games he plays in before the playoffs, if he's putting up these kind of numbers, the Celtics are going to be in really good shape. They'll probably secure the number 2 seed, which I think is best case scenario for them. They've got an outside shot at that number 1 still, with Detroit sort of kind of wobbling a little bit. But I think these kind of numbers from Tatum, considering when he's come back, the schedule that they've played, and just frankly him figuring out how to fit in without disrupting a team that's in a really good flow, really good rhythm this year, you can live with these numbers.
You can, but I am wondering if we think like, there's a whole, I guess this is where it's interesting for me with Tatum, is I think people are thinking it'll get better by the playoffs. And I think what'll get better by the playoffs is just speed of the game and conditioning, but I don't know that he's getting his legs back here this soon off of the Achilles surgery. If anybody's worried that he's not getting separation or lift or that a lot of his shots are contested, I mean, they are, and they have been. Heading into tonight's game, Tatum had attempted 31 threes in the 3 games since he'd come back. Only one of them. And again, this was, I think Jason Timpf had posted this one, but I kind of made a note of it because I thought it was really good. One of the 3s Jayson Tatum attempted, only one classified as an unguarded catch and shoot look per synergy. Everything else contested or off the dribble. So very challenging shots and contested shots that he's taking right now. If this is the best he's going to be able to do with his arsenal here, let's just say this Tatum stays all the way through, which is clearly an upgrade over the Shireman-Hauser combo you were using before. No disrespect to those guys, but Jayson Tatum is Jayson Tatum. Clearly good for the team, everything that he brings, defense, rebounding, all of that stuff. But if this is who he is offensively and physically all the way through, do you still think that they are a legitimate title contender?
Yeah, I do. And reason why I say that is because I look at the Eastern Conference and I look at the teams that they're going to have to go through to get to the finals. And I think a 20.6 rebound, 4 assists Jayson Tatum with Jaylen Brown, doing similar, but not quite as much as he's done, is going to be enough. Because I think with the thing with Tatum is that when he's on the floor, the orbit around him changes in a way where guys all of a sudden are better than we've seen in the regular. Like Derek White, to me, is the greatest example of a guy who is going to get better and better as the season progresses by playing with Jayson Tatum. And I think some of those other guys you mentioned, Shireman off the bench, Hauser, I think is going to be, a little bit better in terms of knocking down shots. There's going to be an across-the-board improvement, I think, in terms of the contributions that guys make. And if you're able to get those guys getting a couple buckets more here and maybe an assist or two better there, and their shooting percentage goes up a few points here and there, and Tatum is giving you 26 and 4, you're going to be an extremely difficult team to put out of the playoffs, which is what you want if you're the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, and again, I think that's what everybody is thinking now. It's just, again, I'm so bummed out by those 2 games. I'm bummed out about the Jalen ejection because I really wanted to see that game all the way through. And I'm not bummed Tatum sat. You want him to sit. I'm just bummed it happened against OKC because, again, but you weren't going to get a full account of what was going on there because OKC is down 2 core players as well. And they keep drilling people. It seems like they're missing 2 guys every single night all season, and they're still drilling people. But still really a bummer because you really wanted to see head on how close are they, even with a limited Tatum, because this is the Tatum I expect. There is not the take over the game, not the top 5 Tatum, not the, he's not the guy. I mean, he might have a hot shooting night or 2 for sure. He's Tatum. But I do wonder what you're going to see in the playoffs. And when everything ratchets up a little bit and it gets harder and those spaces get tighter and they let things go a little bit more, if this slightly offensively reduced Tatum is enough for these guys. And again, Chad, I'm not sure what you guys think about that. As well as we wait for Bobby to jump on, one thing I wanted to point out, or I wanted to bring up here is Bobby is, and he's going to have a chance to bring it up on his own as well. But he is running the marathon here in memory of his father, Robert Manning Sr., who passed away of cancer several years back. Bobby's run this before, but he is doing it again for the Beth Israel Leahy health team here. The link here for Bobby is in the description, or it should be. If it's not, make sure we toss it in there and pin it. But Bobby needs some help fundraising. You guys have done a great job since we started promoting it here. We really do appreciate it. But before Bobby jumps on, I'll give him a chance to promote as well before the end of the show. I want to throw it out one time to you guys. Chip in anything. $2, $5. I don't know what the minimum is. It all helps as Bobby's trying to reach his goal. If he doesn't, he's digging into his pocket, and I don't pay him enough to do that. But no, for real. If you guys can help out Bobby, that would be terrific. He could use your help. It's a great cause. And like I said, everyone here knows someone who's done this or done this in the memory of someone or had someone been affected by cancer in their lives. And, these are great opportunities and huge opportunities to raise money for research here. And help Bobby out if you can. Make sure you check that out. One thing I wanted to bring up here, Noah earlier today had done an interview with Gordon Hayward. If you guys haven't seen it, it's over on our YouTube channel and you should check it out in full. A special You Got Boston one-off insert that you should check out. Full interview on CLNS Media. And again, the link is also in the description here as well. But she did ask Gordon about Tatum and Brown. And it was a really interesting time because recently Jaylen Brown had comments on a podcast how after the 2019 season, he was thinking about getting traded or, should I ask for it? What's my place here? There were just too many stars on this team. And it was, you had the Gordon Hayward situation as well, but you had a bunch of other people who needed the ball. When Hayward returned to action, he kind of bumped Jaylen out of the, a lot of people talk about this as Brad Stevens' like fatal flaw, right? Putting his boy back in there and kind of sending Jaylen back off into, reserve land or role player land. And that didn't sit really well. We didn't talk about that, but Noah did talk about whether Hayward, who when he arrived here, he's 2 kids, and again, Hayward breaks his foot in Tatum's rookie year. Jaylen was in year 2, still extremely raw. So you don't know what you have in these guys. And Hayward's kind of experiencing it for the first time. And here's what Hayward said when asked about his first impressions of these guys and seeing where they are now and where they were when he first arrived in Boston.
I knew they were good. I didn't know they would be this good. They were both so young, but a little bit raw. But unbelievably talented, right? Like I can remember playing in a pickup game in the fall the year I got there, and like JT had every shot that you could have at however young he was, 19 years old, which was really impressive. Like most of the time you have some deficiencies early on, but he could score at 3 levels in a pickup game against pros. And, obviously I got hurt that year, but one thing I remember sitting out is that there wasn't a moment that was like too big for him, even at such a young age. And, that we went to the Eastern Conference, I think either the second round or the finals that year. And he played a major role. Kyrie got hurt, and it was like, okay, I think we got something here. And then, JB was, I had worked my whole career, my whole life to get up to be, I was about 6'7", 6'8", 230 pounds. And JB was like walking into the league basically around that. And so it's like, wow, this dude is a specimen, unreal athleticism, smart. And so he's grown into playing at an MVP year this year without JT. And so I think, 2 of the best wings that we have in the game. Boston fans seems like are super spoiled, man. They just get so much good teams, and certainly they've had some good ones with JT and JB.
I can attest growing up in Boston that Boston fans are very spoiled. I'm curious from a personality standpoint.
Don't know what it's like to have a losing team,
I know. And every year it's like the fans freak out if there's like one team that's not in the mix for a title of the major sports. But I'm curious from a personality standpoint. Obviously, they've grown up a lot since then. But what were they like just like as people, as teammates that early on?
Yeah, I think they were young. They were ambitious as we all were. I think I've talked about this before, but that was one of our issues when I came back and Kyrie came back from injury, is we have all these guys on paper that have a little bit different agendas. We all had a bunch that we wanted to accomplish and we wanted to prove. And, they were growing into the players and the men that they are today, but at 21, 22 years old. And, so I think if I could go back, I would have, tried to play in my role a little bit better and do some more small stuff to help us win. But, yeah, man, I think it's been cool to see them grow into the players that they are and the leaders that they are. I think I still look back to those days and had some really good conversations with both of them. I sat right next to JT on the plane on our road trips. And so there were many times where we had great talks and, talk not about basketball, but just about life and growing up. And so it's been fun to watch those guys.
It's been fun. I didn't need the second part. I needed the first part, but that's all good. No, the rest of the stuff is nice, and again, but it is really funny. It's a great what ifs in Boston sport. One of the greatest what ifs in Boston sports history. If Hayward doesn't go out there, what happens? What happens? Do they win that year? Does Kyrie stay? What becomes of Jayson Tatum as a bench player? Does he show everything that he had? He was a day one starter. Nobody expected that to happen as a rookie, coming in. Would that have happened? Would he have been knocking at the door? Would there have been pressure to start him because he was playing so well? What would have happened the following season there as well? Everything was so interesting. And again, Gordon Hayward returns that next year. He's definitely not himself, but, he starts. Brown had earned a bigger role, but he was, still kind of relegated to, backup, duty there. You had Rozier, you had friggin' Marcus Morris, who also was pretty good, man. He wanted his shot. Yeah.
Yeah. You start looking back on that squad and it's like, damn, they were good.
It might be the greatest team. That next year when Hayward returned, that's one of the greatest teams that went nowhere of all time. It really is, just on paper.
Yeah.
Unreal. Yeah. And then the whole thing blows apart. Horford leaves, Kyrie leaves, you bring in Kemba to stop the bleeding. Hayward's still in there at that point, but Tatum and Brown have ascended into starters now, and everything completely changes. And it looked like that was going to be a huge step back, because then Kemba goes to hell and you're like, oh my God, what do I do here? And then just weird wizardry a couple of years later where they can reconstruct this roster and find themselves in a championship, position a couple of years later. So it really, it's a fascinating what if, but it's a great interview. So go check that out if you haven't already. Watch that full interview over there. And I do want to slightly correct Noah on one of her points here. Yes, many of you are spoiled. People my age, we are not spoiled. Okay. We grew up in Loserville. Okay. We grew up, and again, we had Larry, and then we had a huge gap, 86 to 2001. The Bruins went from 1972 to whatever without a championship. The Red Sox from 1918. The Patriots from never winning. Okay.
John, the thing that
I enjoyed multiple 2-14 seasons. Does anybody know who Scott Secules is? No, you don't. Matt Millen, Tommy Hodson? No, you don't. Those are guys I had to watch quarterback teams for entire seasons. Okay. So yes, there are some spoiled people. Their dues. One of them.
Well, look, when you're a Patriots fan and you see that awesome logo of the guy under center, that was the apex. That was the man. That's how bad the franchise was, where your center, an offensive lineman, was actually the best player that people could root for and feel good about. So yeah. It's a different level of
depressing times. Anyone want to go watch some 90s Celtics with me? No, you don't. No, you don't. Okay.
Is that the post Ray Allen or Allen Ray era?
Oh, no, you don't. I will tell you that. I dare you guys think you're tough? Yeah, just sit through, like 5 90s Celtics games with me. Oh my God. Some grisly stuff. Yes, spoiled now for sure. Bringing in Bobby Manning and his scarfy bestness here. What's going on, Bobby? What can you say about this game? And make it very little.
Yeah, they rolled. And good play overall from pretty much everybody across the board in this one, obviously, against a team like this. Rotation's good. Tatum, the big story, obviously, the amount of minutes he's able to play and just how comfortable he got as the game went on. Feels like he's getting closer and closer to being that full version of himself. And he said there's little moments in each game that you feel that burst, that athleticism, that confidence come back. And he pointed to a play where he got an up fake and was able to blow by Wembanyama in the San Antonio game as an example of that to this point. And he's feeling things out. You can tell. And Joe keeps stressing, as you guys heard live, to give the game what it needs. But clearly they're trying to get him going from a scoring perspective and the minutes that he's playing right now, particularly the ones that he's playing by himself without Jalen. And it's a mixed bag. And I'm still having a hard time gauging, John. I think we'll get a feel for it as time passes here. What's rhythm and rust and just missing shots? And what's his inability to get to the spots and elevate and blow by players as he did previously early in his career?
Well, Bobby, I said earlier, the one thing I found more encouraging about tonight, and again, the massive caveat of it's the Wizards and they don't play defense, is he going to the rim was a lot stronger. He smoked 3 layups, but getting there, it's the friends we made along the way. Yeah, he got there, right?
I feel like he's missing shots.
But so I don't care about the missing shots. I care about the movement, right? And I thought he looked quick and assertive getting to the basket and getting a step on people. Okay. What you don't want to see is him going into his bag and the other guy just sitting there staring at him like, you're not fooling me, right? Like you're not moving quickly enough. It's not sudden enough. I'm staying in, people staying in front of him trying to separate on those putbacks and either getting blocked or having hands in his face. I'm not seeing great separation and lift on those jumpers right now, but the getting downhill, this was the first game I saw him do it consistently, which is great. People here in the chat talking about finishing strength, might just be rust, but getting there, I think, is part of the thing. And I did think he got there tonight. So I do like seeing that a little bit better.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's going to continue to improve. I'm surprised he got to 32 minutes tonight. That was probably the biggest takeaway of the night. Well, I think it was part of the plan.
If the bench puts it away, he doesn't, but yeah, maybe.
I had heard coming into this game this week, he'd be
they were trying to ramp it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And he added to that, confirmed that after the game. So he's at 30 minutes now. That's where he's going to be at. Obviously going to probably take a night off every week the rest of the way over the last 4 weeks or whatever's left at this point. So that's the plan at this point. And he'll probably be good full go by the playoffs if that plan does go according to plan. And again, I think the biggest takeaway right now is that he mostly looks like himself. I think that's across 4 games now what you can say about his performance to this point. When I was talking to Gary on Celtics Daily yesterday, like we put it at 70, 80%. John, I don't know if you agree with that. And
well, it's
that could
interesting
rise
because
quickly.
you and Gary are the only ones that asking the questions about it, because what you're trying to get at is, does he look like himself physically? Joe's non-answer is an answer. So Joe's saying, when you ask how's he looked, from game 1 to game 4, and him saying he's giving the game what it needs, that's not what you're asking. And then Gary follows up and asks the same question, which is, is he not doing things or not being a certain way because physically he doesn't feel it yet, or he's feeling himself out? And he goes back to the give it what it needs. So Joe doesn't want to say it, but I think he sees it. Everybody sees it. Whatever percentage you want to put it at, 75, 80, 85, give it 90. I don't care. He still looks good. He's just not, he's still somewhat limited. I don't know what Tatum was asked about, Bobby. I'm going to play the start of this press conference. Tell me to stop when you think it stops being interesting, because it's kind of long. Here's Tatum after the game.
Difference you're feeling now, 4 games in, compared to the first night you came back overall?
Compared to the first game, I feel a lot more relaxed. Obviously the first game was such a big day and moment. I think now, like I said, post game, I'm finding more and more moments each game where I'm feeling more confident, more explosive, whether it's driving or a closeout or reacting to something. It's just more and more moments each game where, I find plays where, maybe it's not like a big play that people would notice, but it's something that I notice and like, all right, that, gave me confidence and things like that.
What's an example of that from one of the games you played in so far?
Maybe like when we played San Antonio and I had Wemby on the switch, I pump fake, pushed off that leg, went through the lane, jumped off that leg. Just things like that, that, I'm doing without thinking. And, those are big steps.
Jayson, in the first half, obviously the passes to Neemias on the roll were open. Third quarter, it felt like you got, scoring a little bit more. What about their defense changed? And, what was that read from you guys, sort of going through Neemias then addressing?
It's just taking what the defense gives you. Neemias played exceptional in that first half. And, it was kind of evident that they were more focused on the ball handler and our shooters, and, Neem getting behind the defense and getting offensive rebounds and just presenting themselves. They had to make adjustments, and, we just play off that.
Jayson, you played a full third quarter there. Was that part of the plan to start working some of that, like full quarters in? And after these games, what kind of things are you looking for to let you know that you're ready to take next steps?
The full quarter wasn't part of the plan. Is I knew that my minutes would go up, a little bit this week, and that's just kind of the progression. I was playing 27 minutes the first 3 games. They go up a little bit for a week or so and see how you respond. But obviously I've been responding really well and feeling great the next day and after the games, and we just go from there.
Are you doing like strength stuff, or is it more like, how do you know that you're ready? Is it a physical thing? Is it a mental thing? How do you know you're taking that next step?
On the court it's more like mental, certain movements. Since May 13th, nobody's done more calf raises and strength tests than me, so I still do those every other day.
It's only been 4 games, but that pick and roll partnership with Neemias, how have you seen it grow so far as he figures out where you want the screen set, how you want it set?
Anything more on the physical, Bobby?
Just communication.
No, that's it.
Okay. We'll save the Neemias pick and roll stuff for the YouTube channel. If you guys want to learn more, you go there about pick and rolls. Look, he addressed it, and it is interesting how much physical, how much mental here. It's like you saw what's so funny. The first game, his first basket, the dunk, how he landed.
It was panic time.
He lets go of the rim and he comes down just on his left foot on a two-handed two-footed putback. It's clear he didn't have like that was like holy crap.
Oh, I thought you meant the missed dunk. Yeah.
No. The missed dunk is clear. He didn't have the lift. The dunk putback when he comes to the ground, he lifts his right leg up and he lands entirely on his left one, which is dangerous.
On the left. Yep.
But yeah, coming down just trying to plant on one, he didn't, and the right came down after. So it was obvious from moment one he was concerned. And you're right, you got to do a few things and almost second nature do a few things to be like, oh, I can do this. So you do wonder how much of it is mental here. And again, Bobby, you're watching it more closely because you're there. How is he looking? Can you see it in your mind? How it was before versus now?
It's hard to say because it's so limited. The opportunities and the minutes and everything else. Like you want to see him have a full go where he's not trying to keep up with the flow of the game and pick his spots. And there is some hesitation that I see. There aren't as many moments where I feel like he's physically limited. I think a lot of those are happening around the basket. Is he getting the lift he had previously? He would dunk through players a lot, obviously, in the past. Like there's a level of athleticism you may never get back to that we were watching from him previously. And certainly this season, I think you can expect that he'll never reach 100% of what he was. So again, I think it's close. I think you can say it's 70, 80% of what it was before. And 10 months after the surgery, I think that's great. We've said it, John. All the experts say you're probably not yourself until after a year.
Yeah, which again,
right now Tatum is going through a recalibration of his game, and he doesn't know what that's going to look like at the end of the day. So I think he's just trying to do the best he can to manage what he can manage and control what he can control. But to your point, John, I think for Tatum the biggest hurdle has been the mental, not the physical one. You can do all those things necessary to get your body right and back to playing, but there's not a whole lot you can do that's going to definitively get you over that mental hurdle other than to do the things that you're used to doing. And I think as he progresses, as he gets more game time experience or play, I should say, he's getting closer to getting that mental edge that he is accustomed to having. He ain't there yet. I don't think he's close to being there yet. But he's definitely trending in the right direction as far as his mental game getting back to where it used to be.
Bobby, I want to rip through a couple other things from tonight's game because we've talked Tatum a bit, and again, just rip through just to get your take on it. Here just to see. One of the things was again really minor stuff, but why reduce Hugo and no Walsh tonight? Any idea why that would be?
Try to build up Tatum's minutes. Again, I think that was part of the plan to get up to 32.
Let him sit. Okay, number two, why did they go away from if Neemi was an automatic bucket? Why do they do that sometimes? You used to see it with Rob sometimes too. They weren't even guarding him. I think Neemi could have gotten 40 without them even forcing the issue.
Could he have gotten 83?
Yes. It wouldn't have been respectful to get 83. But still, why wouldn't you just keep going there? I find it so weird when something is working so well to abandon it so completely as they did.
Yeah, Joe referred to him needing a screen more or something later in the game. I don't know if that was just giving him a pat on the back for doing little things. But yeah, it was weird to see them get away from that. And we've talked about it at times this year. There will be moments where he's open or has a lane, and they were missing him early in the season. So it's good to get him going to this level in a half. But yeah, it was surprising he didn't end up having a bigger night than he did because he was on track for 40?
Easy. Real quick, I want to ask the chat. We're trying to do our March Madness bracket. You have any thoughts on you want to include? Put them in the chat there so we can see them and we can track some of there as well. Bobby, any leftover thoughts from tonight? We mentioned Peyton Pritchard, another weird game.
Yeah, I was stunned in the third when he had 0.
Yeah, again, it's another game where you look up and you're like, Pritchard hasn't scored again, and you've had a ton of these here. It's weird, right?
Yeah, and he missed a game recently with neck spasms or something like that. We've talked about Queta's fatigue this season, more responsibility, more minutes than ever before. I wonder if that's a factor with Pritchard too. I did ask Queta about it tonight. decent stretch recently where he hasn't played as well, and you wonder if it is the workload. And he didn't want to make that excuse, obviously, after the game. But these are guys in new roles who are doing more in an NBA season than they ever have in their life. So that's one thing that comes to mind here. Obviously, certain opponents, certain teams with more length have given them more trouble. You wouldn't expect Washington to be one of those teams, the worst defense in the league. So this one was pretty shocking. And we keep going back to what does it look like when Tatum's going to get more shots, more responsibility overall? Who's that pulling from? And Pritchard could be one of the guys who takes a hit in that regard. But this was obviously just him missing all the opportunities that he did receive here. And that's happening more often of late. And it is something to keep an eye on because they only have two guards here, two creators. And those guys have both missed a lot of shots this year between Pritchard and White.
That's what's interesting to me. That's what's interesting to me is you've got those two now with Simon's gone. And again, this isn't me doing my, I got to talk about Simon's segment.
But sometimes you're like, isn't good, you miss Simons.
What's that?
When one of those guys isn't good, you miss Simons, particularly Pritchard.
You're always going to think it because again, this was always my Simons point is he's a bucket. And a bucket off the bench is extremely valuable, and especially an athletic one that is matchup proof in terms of his ability to score. Can Simons get smoked in some matchups defensively and picked on? Yeah, no question about it. Can he come into a game and just shoot a bunch of bricks and not ever find his rhythm? Absolutely. Can he come in and legitimately win you a game? Yep, that he can do that too. So not having it, you do miss it when your guards are going cold. And again, both White. I mean, this game's a 70-point game if they were hitting their shots and hitting their threes early in this one. But yeah, with the Wizards, you can get away with it. But White and hasn't shot well all year, and you don't want to see Pritchard going cold at this time here by any means. Last thing I wanted to ask, and again, not a huge deal, but also somewhat to be expected. Jaylen Brown's shots per game for the month of March, Bobby. Can you guess what they are?
They're down for sure. I mean, he's down 6 points a game this month.
Yeah. Yes. So Jaylen Brown's average is down. He's shooting 22 points per game this month. And his shot attempts are down to 17 here. Without increased efficiency, I'm going to add 44% field goals and 31% from the 3-point line. As we talk about Tatum kind of finding himself, is Brown have to re-find himself a little bit here in this new, whether you call it a hierarchy or whatever's going on.
Yeah, I was bummed we didn't hear from him tonight because I think that's an interesting story. I'm sick of the stupid official stuff. We've talked about for a week with him. Like, I think the more interesting story to me is how he's going to fit into this new dynamic here. And I think he remains super involved. They're running bench units where he's leading the team for pretty much the entire second quarter until Tatum gets in late. So there's still pockets for him to be himself. And I think he's had overall solid statistical performances here. What we keep looking at, John, is the decline from mid-range. It's been sharp into the new year here, into the low 30s. He's not the 50% guy that he was to start the year, not really close. So I think that's a big factor. It's great that he's been getting to the free throw line. He's not a guy who's going to hit many threes. So when you drop the shot total on top of that, it's going to be less efficient. It's going to be less points overall. That's where you're going to have to find a new balance eventually, John. We've talked about it. Are you eventually going to reset around Brown and do some of the stuff you did earlier in the game? I know you weren't on the Oklahoma City show, John. He didn't shoot well in that game either, but I thought you saw the early season version of himself where he's running everything. He's scoring a ton.
He was passing up bunnies today. It was weird trying to get people involved. I don't know if that was a conscious effort or what. It was weird.
Yeah, so I loved what he did in Oklahoma City. Tonight wasn't as good. Everybody's trying to figure out this new thing right now. I just wonder if it's going to keep trying to force Tatum to be who he was before, or if he's going to move into a new role and Jaylen's going to eventually become the tone setter, leading shot taker, all those things on any given night. That question's so uncertain to me that I think it's fascinating because right now you don't want Tatum. If Tatum can shoot 39% from the field the rest of the way, you don't want him taking the most shots on the team every night. And you want
right, but that's the thing is like White's not shooting well, Pritchard's not shooting well, Tatum's not shooting well, Brown's not shooting well. You're winning with a great defense. second unit hustle and the offensive rebounding, places you just didn't expect to be winning with this team right now. So you wonder when you get to the playoffs what happens there if you stay cold. So it's definitely something to watch right now. I think we're glossing over this. I'm not trying to be a doomer, but at this point in the season, last year everyone would be like, what are you talking about? They won. It didn't matter. Every piece of analysis or anything we ever said was really about, could any of these things possibly prevent them from winning a title? Now that they're in contention to at least get to the finals or get to the conference finals based on their seeding, every question we have down the stretch is going to be like, what thing that's happening now might give you pause when it comes to the playoffs, or what thing do you feel good about right now? I don't feel great about the way that the shooting has gone here and the offensive flow of things. Definitely taking a bit of a step back. So yeah, you guys are just sensitive. You're just sensitive. I'm sorry. What else? We said it. Noah said it earlier. We're spoiled here. Okay. Cass had a good comment earlier in the show. This season's a win no matter what. No one expected to have fun watching this team. No one expected the development of some of the younger players. No one expected to be in contention. Not at this level. Not to the point that you're legitimately betting favorites to make it to the finals. No doubt about it. So the season is a win from a fan perspective. But now that you're here, you have expectations. Don't lie to yourselves. You do.
Yeah,
right?
That's what I've been conflicted with all season. Like, you lose those Spurs and Thunders game in good fights, good efforts. But if you want to win a championship this season, those are important losses. And your record against the best teams, we've talked about, John, 2-8 against those big West teams and the Knicks and the Pistons. It's something you want to see them improve on in those spots. And we know they can smoke the Wizards and the middle/lower portion of the league here. So you don't learn too much from these games, but they are going to need these games to get Tatum up to speed. And this is the most comfortable he's looked by far, right?
Yeah. So again, we'll see where it goes. It's interesting because, again, it's almost like they're like rediscovering themselves each game. So it'll be very easy, very interesting as we can continue to watch as they go. What do we have for the next game, guys?
Good Suns team coming in with Devin Booker available this time.
When is that?
Monday.
Suns. We'll be back with another show, so make sure that you tune in for that one. We already mentioned, make sure that you go watch Noah's Gordon Hayward interview over on CLNS Media. Link is in the description. And once again, Bobby, I plugged it once earlier, but I'll let you give it another plug before you go for the marathon.
Yeah, we're halfway there to our goal. Big thanks to all the viewers who have donated, and the response has been great from you guys so far. I'll shout out everybody individually on an upcoming show here. I think everybody deserves a little bit of a shout out who contributed to this point. But running the Boston Marathon in just about a month, in my dad's memory, try to bring family together and keep his memory alive, and obviously support the hospital, Beth Israel, that treated him while he battled cancer for a year. So we're halfway there. We still need a big push over the final month here leading up to the marathon. So if you haven't donated, anything would be appreciated. And I'm going to try to keep you guys up to date on what's going on with the training and obviously some memories of my dad and all of that. So appreciate everybody who's helped out so far. And we've made a lot of progress over the last couple of weeks since we started plugging it here.
Yeah. So guys, again, my urging, please, reach out, dig deep, help Bobby out here reach his goal for the marathon. We've got what? We're a month out. So we'll get there. There's definitely still more time, but yeah, anything you guys can do would be great. Once again, Celtics defeat the Washington Wizards, improved to 44-23 on the season, 111-100 in a game that was nowhere near as close as that. Make sure you want more basketball coverage. Subscribe to the Big 3 NBA podcast with Sherrod Blakely, Gary Washburn of the Boston Globe, and Kwani Lunis. Go check that out. Sherrod's dropping good stuff with Gary. I love Sherrod and Gary. If you guys aren't watching this, you're missing out. Good friends, great chemistry, great knowledge, good stuff. It's always a good conversation. Kwani's great. So make sure you check out that show. We don't talk about it enough. So check that out. Celtics Daily. You want Bobby's off day stuff. Check that out. Always having interesting conversations and interviews with people from around the league, talking about both league issues, but also the Boston Celtics, previewing upcoming matchups or talking about big storylines. A super great show we've added to our arsenal recently that you should definitely check out if you can. We mentioned Noah's interview. You got Boston. Check that out. But also, of course, you're watching the Garden Report. So if you haven't already, subscribe, leave us a review, turn on your notifications, buy our merch. Jeez, where's Jimmy? Buy the merch, guys. Look at this stuff. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I'm not going to lie.
Channeling my inner Jimmy. That's all.
Yeah, so check that out. Always deals on the site as well for that. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. We will be back on Monday night as the Celtics take on the Suns. Until then, we'll talk to you later.